Blaise Pascal was a mathematician, physicist, inventor, and theologian who wrote "The heart has its reasons, whereof reason knows nothing." He wrote it way back in the 17th century. Pascal lived in France, so he actually wrote his famous quote in French. 250-ish years later, way back when in 2007, I published a book titled Building Brand Value: 7 Simple Steps to Profitable Communications. The second rule in the book was hearts, then minds. Depending on how you look at it, those 3 words are either a succinct bumper sticker version of Pascal's quote or a rather ham-fisted and ineloquent way of saying the same thing. The heart has its reasons, whereof reason knows nothing, or hearts then minds. You be the judge. Discovering Pascal's quote 14 years after I wrote essentially the same thing, I racked my brain to see if I had any knowledge of the original line. But try as hard as I could not remember ever hearing that quote. However, while I was researching Pascal and his writings for this video, I discovered that his quote was used in a book I had read more than once, A Wrinkle in Time. Madeleine L'Engel's novel was my favorite childhood book, and I can remember reading it at least 3 times as a kid, and I read it once or twice or even more again to each of my children when they were little. And I even read it one more time just a few months ago. In the book, L'Engel quotes Pascal in his original tongue, that is, in French. And while, I can maybe direct a Parisian taxi driver somewhere near my hotel or order something more appropriate than boiled sole of shoe with a side order of crayons, my French is almost non-existent. So it would not have mattered how many times I had read Le cœur a ses raisons que la raison n'y connaît point, I still wouldn't have understood what it meant. I don't even know if I pronounced it correctly. Of course, not speaking a particular language is not the only way meaning can be lost. We often hear things in our native tongue that we don't actually understand either. Have you heard the word effete? What do you think it means? Elite? Effeminate? It doesn't. It means tired. How about reticent? The way I've heard it used, most people must think reticent means reluctant. It doesn't. It means reluctant to speak. For example, you can be reticent to discuss this video blog with someone else, but you cannot be reticent to watch it. Unique does not mean unusual. It means the only one of its kind. Fortuitous does not mean fortunate. It means coincidental. And ironically, ironic does not mean coincidental. It means that something is contrary to expectation. My goal here is not to point out how many words you don't know. In fact, the reason I know what most of these words mean now is simply because I had gotten them wrong at some point and had to go look them up myself. Much like the time I used estoy embarazado when apologizing to someone in Spanish. I thought embarazada meant embarrassed. It doesn't. What I'm hoping to point out is how easy it is to miscommunicate even when we think we're being perfectly clear and understandable. After all, there are so many ways that meaning can be lost that it's often hard to believe we can communicate at all, even when we're speaking the same tongue. To not make this mistake, let's go back to the 7 points covered in Building Brand Value. Point number 3 was make it simple. And point number 4 was make it quick. Or, as Pascal said, again, so much more eloquently than I made this letter very long because I did not have the leisure to make it shorter.